Hi, we're back. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, taking your calls at 800-321-0710. Got a lot of people on the YouTube channel who have questions. What about post-COVID economic rebound stock plays? I think we're already there, aren't we? Cruise lines stand to benefit. Jets, sure. I don't like to invest in jets. I may be a student of Warren Buffett. They're very capital intensive. I've always found that they have trouble, whether it's, Boeing's problem and Airbus's problem. I mean, those were probably two really good deals in the middle of the crash last year, but they're very capital intensive businesses. And then Tammy says, is this live? Yes. Brother Ted says, but they're also cruise lines, theme parks, theater chains. Do these make sense right now? Yes, if you have some serious kahunas, because it's like, what if we have COVID wave 2? What if we have COVID wave 3? Well, actually, we're on wave 4, I think. But what if we have like COVID 21? Now we have sort of a government that said, they're talking about shutting down Michigan again. They're talking about, there's a lot. I don't want to get too much into the COVID world, but it's sort of depressing. We were told if everybody vaccinates, you can go back to normal. Now we're saying, now you can't go back to normal quite the exact way as once thought. So I don't know. We shall see. So give us a question in the YouTube chat line at youtube.com, The Financial Quarterback. We have a lot we're going to talk about. Buying Bitcoin. Interesting website on Bitcoin. Corn.lol. Yes, corn.laugh out loud. Ernesto is shaking his head at me. But you can see all of the trades that everyone makes. So here's my prediction. The IRS and the SEC will embrace crypto and have mass adoption eventually because they'll be able to trace whatever anyone did and tax it at the source with a financial transactions tax. I actually think it could be brilliant. We abolish the income tax. It's not going to happen. But we abolish the sales tax, and instead you get a 1% crypto tax. So whenever you buy it or sell it or transfer it to another party, so it'd be like anytime you change hands. Now, I had some guy on the show one time, and he said, if we have a transactions tax, not a financial transactions tax, not that, socialist kind of thing to punish the banks. By the way, right now, a lot of big banks aren't really winning the game of finance. A lot of the companies winning the game of finance are fiduciary firms that are putting the client's best interest first. They're low-cost brokerages. They're democratized finance. So I don't really think the boogeyman of Wall Street really exists anymore, other than in the minds of rants by, the random, socialist, 78-year-old senator or something like that. I don't see how that's necessarily a bad thing. But it was interesting. I think the IRS will embrace what's called chain analysis. They're already embracing it, by the way. Google chain analysis. Talk to your crypto kid about that. They don't really know that yet. Once everybody knows that nothing will be truly anonymous, there could be a problem. Now you might say, well, what if I buy it through whatever, VPN? Well, what if you spend it? Then they'll be able to link that Bitcoin that was bought, April 1st, 2021 to the Bitcoin that bought the Tesla on November 1st of 2021. And you don't think Tesla's going to report that? You don't think Coinbase is going to report all the transactions? You don't think the Winklevi twins are going to report? The Winklevoss twins are probably one of the most interesting set of twins in history. They go from being, the people who sued Mark Zuckerberg for 45 million to now they're worth billions because they invested in Bitcoin. And they are on the next big app, Gemini, which may be even bigger. And then they own a company called BlockFi, which I think is based out of New Jersey, by the way. So interesting. So next up, we have Jeff, who wants to talk about IRA distribution changes. Thank you for getting me back to reality, Jeff. Go ahead. You're on with Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback.
Yeah, hi. I have a question. You had started to mention that you were going to clarify with the new interpretation for how your IRA has to be distributed to your descendants, but then you sort of got sidetracked. Could you explain how they changed the rule?
Sure. Sure thing. So the new law change related to the Secure Act, the IRS, I get sidetracked by my own thoughts sometimes.
Yes. But it's entertaining.
It's a sign of genius. I can think on 8 levels, but sometimes it's hard to follow. It's like stream of consciousness. It's okay. So thank you for keeping me on track all the way. By the way, if any listener ever says, well, you talked about this at, minute 17 and you said you were going to bring it up and you never brought it up. Well, always call. That's why you are the original social media at 800-321-0710. So this was big. Okay. Here's the backstory. One of the major changes, and this from IRAhelp.com, one of the major changes made by the Secure Act was the elimination of the stretch for many beneficiaries of inherited IRAs. If an IRA owner died before 2020, your individual beneficiary could satisfy the RMD by spreading annual payments out over their life expectancy. For a young beneficiary, that could be 80 years or longer. So one of the things we were recommending to people is if you love your grandkids, name them the beneficiary. And if you have an 8-year-old grandchild and you die at 90, they could essentially have 90 years of tax-free compounding, so long as they take that little RMD out every year. It was a great way to parlay your IRA into a family fortune, but no more. That was one of the biggest middle class ways to transfer wealth. But you know what? We don't want middle class people to transfer wealth anymore. We only want, the uber elites. So the stretch IRA was a real blessing. I'm calling on Joe Biden to reenact President Joe Biden. We're calling on you to save us from President Trump's probably worst bill that even he didn't know he signed, which was the Secure Act. I talked to legislators. They didn't even know how bad this bill was. They said it was for the average consumer's retirement savings. It would make you more secure. And just like the Affordable Care Act made healthcare neither affordable nor care, the Secure Act made retiree savers less secure. So you might say, how so? Well, instead of getting 80 years to spread out your tax, you now had 10. So the idea was that if you have, just to use you an example, how much do you have in IRAs?
Like 2 million.
So if you have 2 million IRAs, the logic was that your heirs would take, let's say, 80 grand a year every year over their life expectancy, and 80 grand wouldn't kill them. You, my friend, are going to be seriously hurt by this new law because the 2 million, the thought was that your heirs would be able to wait for 10 years and time their distributions. So let's say you have a son who's retiring in 8 years. He could take half in the 9th year, half in the 10th year after you die, and spread the tax out over those 2 years. Now they're saying it's going to be a 10-year pay down. So they would literally have to take out something like, let's say, 200 grand plus some amortization schedule. So 205 grand. That would go on their tax return, not yours, on your successful. Jeff, how many kids you have?
I have 2.
2. Are any of them fairly
3
successful?
grandkids. What's that?
Are any of them fairly successful?
Yeah, they are. They're both well. They're both doing well.
Yeah, so let's say they're in a 39.6% federal bracket under the new Biden tax code. That'll probably get passed in some type of compromise. Then you have 39.6, but even President Trump's 37 plus about 10 state and city, maybe 8 if you just 8.82, but New York's raising their state tax. So let's call it 10 plus 37. So 47 cents on every dollar of that 2 million will be taxed. And when we return from the break, I'll tell you what you can do. But generally, if that's you, you should meet with us for what to do with the changes in the Secure Act review. The IRS just released some guidance on the Secure Act. Now, here's the thing. They may go back to the old way. But even if they go back to the old way, because there's a comment period, you want to make sure you send a letter to them that this would create a problem. But they're going to look at you and say, dude, you have $2 million in an IRA. You're doing well. Forget you. You're exactly the type of people we want to tax. But that's why you're exactly the type of person that we can help. And we will come up with a plan to deal with some of the deferred taxes when you pass over a 10-year plan. You cannot just rely on the stretch anymore. So call us now, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH for the death of the stretch review. And then if you have any follow-up questions to my talk, stay on the line, Jeff. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674. We'll be back after these messages. Okay, we're back. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. We have some more questions coming in on the YouTube, so make sure you subscribe. Go to youtube.com, search for the financial quarterback. And Jeff, did you have any follow-up questions to that?
No, I think you answered it. Thank you very much for all your help through the years. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be sure to keep it locked here every Saturday and Sunday at 9, because if there's a change in the law, we'll inform you about it. But I think regardless of what they come down on, the debate was your heirs could time it based on their income. So we were telling heirs, hey, maybe retire in the 9th or 10th year, take that distribution. But I would actually say the 10-year plan that they're proposing could be worked with. And it could be worked with in a couple of different ways. So call us at 888-988-JOSH and we'll show you our death of the stretch review. Give us a call, 800-321-0710. We have another question. If we get high inflation, will real estate be a haven? I think that's already what's happening. People are very worried that our economy isn't real. They're worried that the stock market gains are not real. So I think the money is floating from real estate, from stocks to real estate, propping the real estate market up. I also think COVID didn't hurt that any. So people are going from New York and New Jersey to Florida and Texas and Tennessee. But then you know what'll happen? They'll realize Florida's hot all year round. Your property tax bill. I will tell you this. I'm an expert in Florida. I mean, self-proclaimed expert, and I don't have any degrees on it. But I've seen the Florida boom for years. I wanted to buy 2-3 years ago, but my wife didn't want to move down there. But a lot of people will go, and then one of the two spouses will hate the heat. So then you'll have to buy a house back here. I think a better boom might be like Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Hampshire, parts of Tennessee where it's more mild. I think the people move to Texas and Florida are going to realize they didn't move there for a reason for years. Florida gets boring after about 6 weeks, I think. Florida is great like in the winter. Now, I do think a lot of people will move there and they will just say, well, I'll live there 7 months and I'll come up, I'll purchase a beach house in Jersey or the Hamptons for 4 months, the uber rich. But I'm talking like the couple that's trying to retire, or maybe they'll just deal with the heat in exchange for the cost savings. But I will tell you, a lot of people don't realize property taxes are high in Florida because it's 1.8% of the purchase price. So as their values have gone up. So I know people who bought into like Palm Beach, and their property tax bill was, let's say, $9,000 because they bought a house for $900,000. Then they sold their house for $5 million. Now their house property tax is 1.8% of $5 million. So got to be careful about that. There's no, and then will you like the health care? You ever hear of Naples Community Hospital, what it stands for? Anybody realize? Naples, Florida, they used to say, this is satire, so I'm not casting any doubt on Naples Community Hospital, but they used to call it Never Come Home, NCH. So, but that being said, we have that in New Jersey too. There are hospitals I would never go to. So, and to be honest, Naples Community Hospital, I think, by the way, a lot of those hospitals in Florida are going to get better and better. Hospital for Special Surgery down in Palm Beach. Naples, so much money down there. They've probably rapidly improved their medical system. I know Palm Beach has. I know Jacksonville is a Mayo Clinic. They have an MD Anderson. So it's only a matter of time before the rich doctors move down there that everybody wants from up here. Only a matter of time. What do we do? As a society, I think, and as a state, we need to bring back the wealth. Although, did you see David Tepper, the billionaire who moved to Florida? He moved back. Somebody said he moved back. Is that true? I don't know. Google that. Somebody. Did David Tepper move back to New Jersey? I don't know. I'm not sure. Someone said he did. So we have a question on the YouTube. Do 401k plans have the same 10-year rule that you explained for spending IRAs? Yes. If you die with a 401k, you have to spend it down 10 years after death. Now you might go, I don't care about death. I get a lot of people go, I don't care what's going to happen to my kids when I die. I don't have any kids. I don't have any significant other. Well, here's the thing. If you are single with no children, do you want the government to get 50 cents of every dollar you make? Just think about that. When you could have them get 30 cents of every dollar you make. We're not talking about, we're talking about legal tax strategies. What do I mean by that? If you have $100,000 in a traditional IRA and you are single with no children, you could Roth at today's rates and time the distribution properly and pay maybe a 24% tax instead of a 50% tax when AOC is president in 2024 or whoever it might be. And now people are shaking their heads. They're saying, well, you know what? Nobody thought Trump would be president either. And nobody thought President Biden would be president for that matter. So everybody, do not think that the unthinkable can't happening. Maybe it's too many double negatives. But basically, we are living in a world now where nothing is money. Nothing is art. And Donald Trump was our president. Now President Biden's our president. And not that, I'm not wanting to get political, but, we've kind of hit a brave new world. Like our whole world is very different than the world we were brought up in. Now people say, well, what do I do? I'm just going to put my head in the sand. Well, we have to teach thrift and old school work ethic and saving 10 or 15%. Because you know what's going to be the answer to inflation? More money. If we have rampant inflation, there's only one thing that'll save that. You saving more in the stock market or in various things that will inflate. Generally, real estate and stocks inflate because the price of goods and services go up. My little daughter learned the value of inflation yesterday. She opened up a Popcorners bag and she said, I don't know what she said, but she said something like, this is a travesty. She opened up the bag of chips and literally a bag of chips is now like this. $5, although we got it for a special, $2.50 or something. 2 for $5. Those popcorners, you know what I'm talking about? They're really good. The kettle corn popcorners. So they're in, and basically 2 large handfuls of an adult are now what fills a bag of potato chips or popcorn chips. If that isn't inflation, I don't know what is. Now, I don't know. We'll see. So I think inflation's already here. That's why real estate has gone up. Brother Ted says, isn't there a stock market correction due about every 10 years? I would say so, but that's what the Fed is trying to stop. So in last March, we were going to have the long-awaited correction, and we should have allowed the free market to prevail, bad actors to be flushed out. I'm very critical on this. Both parties did us a disservice with COVID bailouts and with the '08 bailout. Why do we not want to bail out bad companies? So that bad habits are not rewarded. Right now, companies that have no revenue, mind you, are valued at like $90 billion. Now, granted, you might say, but Coinbase has revenue. Okay, yes. But the point I'm trying to say is we have companies that do not make a profit, are valued in the billions of dollars, and they are pre-revenue. So if you want to look at the boogeyman of Wall Street, you really have to look at the boogeyman of Silicon Valley. A lot of people don't realize this. Wall Street moved to Silicon Valley, I don't know, in the 2000s, like 2005. So what private equity does and what these firms do is they raise money from super rich people at very low interest rates because we've kept rates artificially low, and they take a private company public. We, the little guy, generally buy those IPOs when they're already high. So billionaires might get in at $10 a share. They get out at $400 a share. They're already out of Coinbase now. They're looking for the next thing to ride. Meanwhile, your 401k buys that in some fund and you're stuck with it. So IPOs are very risky for the average person. I was featured on a Cameron Huddleston article warning people about IPOs before this. You can just Google Huddleston Jelinski, HUDDLESTON, for Yahoo Finance. But you have companies literally that are overvalued. They don't make money, and they're worth $63 billion. And we are rewarding that. But do I think they'll let the market crash, like 40% like '08 or without? I think it'll crash like it did in March, and then they'll announce some emergency rescue package and they'll start buying more debt and monetizing. And, we spent $900 billion in the Bush bailout, the Bush-Obama bailouts, maybe about $1 trillion, $900 billion, something like that. We spent 10 times that amount last year. So, yes, COVID, very serious. We could have spent maybe $1 trillion or $2 trillion and had the COVID relief package, maybe $1 trillion, and done the same basic thing. Now we have a 9 times greater fall maybe ahead of us. I don't know. That's what some people say, that we'll have this big one. I think the Fed, in concert with the U.S. government, once it gets to be as bad as March was, they'll have some weird way to prop up money. Maybe give away free checks, maybe universal basic income, maybe adding zeros. And then I think the big one will be when all that stuff doesn't work anymore, which might be longer than, but yeah, usually it's about every 7 to 10 years, there's a cyclical downturn. But I think, we were due to have that cyclical downturn in like 2015, and they were propping the markets up then. Then we were kind of due to have it last year, and they were propping them up. Now it's due for 2022 or 2023. And then will they do something then to prop it up? I think the Fed studies cycles. So we'll be back after these messages. Call us now, 888-988-JOSH, for your free Income for Life blueprint, 888-988-JOSH. If you wonder about when you can retire, at what income, how long is your money going to last, and about these new tax strategies in light of the death of the Stretch Act and the Secure Act, call us now, 888-988-JOSH. 888-988-5674. We'll be back after these messages.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Jelensky Advisory Group.
Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications, including 5-Star Wealth Manager, Advisory of the Year finalist by Senior Market Advisor, and top of the $1 Million Roundtable, are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Josh Jelensky or Wealth Quarterback LLC. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Wealth Quarterback website at www.jelensky.org. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions, the information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, Josh Jelensky and Wealth Quarterback do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Advisory services offered through Wealth Quarterback LLC.